Hello and welcome. Another edition of the Corvive College Coaches Corner. And each and every week, take a few minutes, speak with a college coach, try to enlighten families, student athletes about what is current and what is going on within the world of college baseball. Today, we are talking with someone that I genuinely have been following for many years during his time at Campbell and then back at Vanderbilt and now at Coastal Carolina. The director of baseball operations and recruiting is Tyler Shewmaker. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
No, I appreciate you having me on. It's I've watched your videos and podcasts for a while, and I'm thankful to be on. I'm glad you texted me and asked me.
Well, one of the things that really is intriguing to me is, first of all, I happen to have visited Coastal with my boys a time back. But let's just talk a little bit about Conway, South Carolina, the proximity to Myrtle Beach. It's a beautiful campus for any prospective college student athlete.
It truly is, and it's our baseball field is right there in the middle of campus. It's connected to the football facility, which they just built a brand new football indoor right there on our campus, which is great. It's going to help that program substantially, but it also Conway in itself is great. They have a great downtown. They do a lot for the holidays. It's a small town feel where you also get a college town, and then 8 miles down the road you run into the Atlantic Ocean. We're right on the beach. So it's not a bad place to live as a college kid. You get the college life, get a small campus where you get to know people, see different people from different backgrounds, and then also drive down the road and be able to go out on the beach as well. Coastal actually just had its biggest freshman class in history since it was founded in 1954 as well, which I think is, in this day and age, the way that COVID affected universities and colleges, especially quote unquote small universities. That's something to note because people are still wanting to come to Conway. They're still wanting to come to Coastal. So it continues to grow.
One of the interesting dynamics of Coastal Carolina, head coach Kevin Schnall has been there for many years with one of the coaching icons within college baseball, Gary Gilmore. And even when Gilly was there, it's always been hard for me to say mid-major and Coastal in the same sentence. I've just never, ever, with regard to baseball anyway, have ever considered that. But let's talk a little bit about the Sun Belt Conference. And now, after a year where you're coming out of Omaha, the interest in Coastal is sky high with regard to baseball. Talk a little bit about the Sun Belt. But if you just take a minute to look at your out-of-conference games, you're playing a ridiculously hard schedule, both in and out of conference.
Right. The Sun Belt itself is a challenging league. You have some really good teams. You had two hosts from the Sun
Right.
Belt and us in Appalachian State. And, Troy's always knocking on the door right there to get in as well. And I think Marshall's doing a lot of good stuff up there to be able to, a good program with Coach Bill. He's starting to take that program to the next level as well. So the level of talent is just going to continue to build on. And I think, Southern Miss down there in Hattiesburg, they continue to just produce baseball players and they get really top talent out of Mississippi. And from our non-conference schedule, we're in a spot regionally that we play really good baseball. You have a lot of schools within that proximity that want to play us in the midweek. And then early in the season, when some of the Northeast Big Ten schools weather that they want, they're able to come down and we host a tournament every year, baseball at the beach, where we bring in 2 or 3 different teams, where we play 3 or 4 games in that weekend. It just boosts our RPI for later in the year.
One of the things I know this year, you're going to be going down to Texas, and playing in one of the early February tournaments that they have. It's safe to say that within the world of college baseball, particularly, Coastal is always, at least over the last 5 years, well, let's go back to 2016. Last 10 years, that's a top 25 program now, year in and year out. And now your recruiting now is more West Coast, Midwest, East Coast. I mean, it's pretty much taken over, whereas before you might have been focused in the Carolinas or in that general geographical region.
Yeah, I think the ability for us to play on a national scene every single year and and the postseason has helped that obviously substantially for Coastal to have a name. But you look in the last 10 years, there's only been 4 teams play in the national championship series multiple times. That's LSU, that's Vanderbilt, that's Florida, and then Coastal Carolina. And so when you take those 4 schools and you look at who they're playing every year, year in and year out, and where they're recruiting, we're right there on the top tier of that. And fortunately for me, I've been able to coach at 2 of those places in Coastal at Vanderbilt, and that's what I brought to Coastal in a way, is being able to recruit nationally from my past experiences.
And one of the dynamics, and I've known Tyler, with regard to recruiting for many years. You were with Justin Hare Campbell, then you're with Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt. Now you're with Kevin Schnall at Coastal Carolina. Let's talk recruiting a little bit with regard to the high school athlete. I mean, you are one of the preeminent, evaluators / recruiters in college baseball. And so let's talk a little bit about, how do you see that role of the high school athlete, particularly at Coastal, evolving as we move through the DSA and strictly into that 34 cap? What are your thoughts on the cap, and what are your thoughts with regard to the high school athlete?
Well, personally, I love the cap. I love it because I think it helps every level of baseball, whether that's Division 1, mid-major, Division 2, because there's going to be better baseball players spread out amongst more teams. From that standpoint, as a high school kid, I think you're going to see high school classes shrink at
Right.
our level. Maybe we had 11, 12, a dozen commits in one class. The next class might be 6 to 8. And the only reason I say that is because there is a place where you have to backfill at the end with some portal or junior college guys. That's just the nature of college baseball now. But for a high school athlete, I think you have to broaden your horizons on what you're looking for. And it might not be that dream school that you're like, man, I grew up in. Heck, I'll use myself an example. I grew up in Indiana. Indiana was the place I wanted to go. I was a Hoosiers fan. Everyone from my family was a Hoosiers fan, and they didn't recruit me. And that was back then, and I had a great career playing junior college and then Division 2. But take that to the athlete now, you might grow up for a dream school, and you look at their roster and it's composed of more portal guys than high school guys or more junior college guys. And you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, where am I going to play? So for me personally, as a high school kid, you got to look at what they've signed, what they're looking to sign, and where you kind of fit in that scenario. And for that, I think as a college recruiter, those numbers are just going to continue to get smaller. No one knows the happy number or what the best number is, but I think you're really going to see the classes shrink to that 5 to 8 range per class at our level.
So talking about, I think a lot of people, their perspective is the high school athlete is getting, kicked to the curb. But in reality, really, if we listen to the message and not the tone, and we don't hear portal, name, image, and likeness, JUCO, and we listen to the message, it's really telling the high school athlete, you need to be prepared for the rigors, the workload of the college caliber, those programs, regardless of Division 1, Division 2, college athletics in general. So talk a little bit about what's some advice that you might give maybe a 2027 or 2028 that's really, with a goal, I really want to play college. What do they need to do in order to make sure that they can participate being a part of a program?
I think that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is the physicality, right? Like I think if you don't love the weight room, if you're not obsessed with getting better every single day, then you're not going to make it as you step foot on campus. And that starts in the weight room. That starts with your eating habits. That starts with your self-discipline. And really self-discipline is a choice. And the more times that you can eliminate choice as a high school kid of, yeah, my buddies are doing this, but I also up and go work out in the morning. That's a choice. Just eliminate that choice. Man, I have bigger aspirations. I have bigger goals. That's my best. That's my best word of advice is self-discipline, the determination to just be obsessed with what you want to do. Because if you don't, if you don't love it, I ask recruits this all the time on the phone. A high school kid, whatever it is, do you love baseball? Because if you don't love baseball, Coastal Carolina is not the place for you. because you have to be obsessed with it. You have to be obsessed with being the best player you can be to help our team win. So as a high school kid, it's that obsession to just want to get better. And that starts in the weight room. That starts being able to run. That starts with athleticism. Because when you step foot on campus day one, there's going to be guys that are bigger, faster, stronger than you. That's okay. But the guys that can blend into that quicker seem to make it quicker as well.
The blending is the key. I really want parents to take it, just break it right down to when Coach Shoemaker is telling you those that are able to blend in and they don't stick out, they just look the part, they're playing the part, they're preparing the part. Those guys are going to get an active, at least opportunity to get between the lines. And also want to remind you that when you watch the podcast that we do with Jeremy Fouts with regard to the process, listen to what he's saying about size and strength because it does matter. One thing, Tyler, that I really want you to discuss that I don't really ask a lot of college coaches, but, knowing your skill set as an evaluator, when a student athlete is on a college campus, and let's just say they're on the 34-man roster, and maybe let's say they're struggling for an extended period of time, whether that be in the fall or even in the spring, what does the coaching staff, particularly at Coastal, do in order to make sure that that young man doesn't spiral and kind of just wallow in the pity, but really begins to have some grit and resolve and work his way back?
I think from the step one is telling the players that we have their back. I think at any level, at any place, knowing that a coaching staff has your back is very important. But also, I think it's really breaking down video. It's showing them good video. If I gave any advice to players out there, it's remember have video of when you really played well, whether that be hitting, catching, pitching, whatever it is. Have that video in your phone. Have it favorited because there's going to be days that you struggle. There's going to be days you can't find the strike zone or you're swinging and missing everything and you can't see the ball. And then there's also going to be times where it looks like a beach ball coming in. And I think being able to go back and look at that video and say, what was I doing here? And simplifying that to the smallest extent of what your first move was or where you were looking, what mindset you were in can help you develop and get through that rut. I'm also a big component of writing things down. I think it's important for players to always keep a journal, always write things down. And when me in my office, when they are struggling, we can look back at that journal. I don't need to know everything that you wrote down, but we can kind of dissect what you were feeling on those good days versus the bad days. But for us, we'll switch up the lineup from a standpoint of maybe you're batting in the 2 hole and maybe you're struggling now and we're moving you down to the 6 or 7 just to try to get some production out of you, or maybe you see something differently or the situation's different. And so when we do that, it's not to make you lose your self-confidence. It's actually to help empower confidence in you. So you're saying, man, I'm in a different role now, but embrace that and continue. And now you might find yourself back up at the 2 hole, or maybe you're like Coastal and we get on a 26 game winning streak last year that's
Right.
unheard of, rolling with those same guys, right? And you're a guy on the bench and you're like, man, I'm not playing, but this is a heck of a lot of fun to keep winning. Is it frustrating? Yeah, it is. But those guys keep working while they wait. And some of those numbers were called in Omaha whenever guys got injured.
One of the things when you're on a 26-game winning streak, you're not going to change personnel. You might not change socks, underwear, or t-shirt. You might keep those on for all 26.
No,
One of
no
the
doubt.
things that really separates you with regard to evaluation is with regard to catching. Now, Kevin Schnall is an elite catching coach and has always been seen, and you as well have been out. And we don't talk enough about from a catching perspective. We focus on hitting and obviously velocity as pitching. But with catchers, all the time I hear guys talking pop time, pop time, pop time. But in reality, that's like 2-3% of what's going on behind the dish. And it's really about receiving, handling a staff. It's about blocking, keeping balls in front, having confidence from your pitchers as far as maybe a 3-2 breaking ball with a guy on third. Talk a little bit about what is it about catchers that catches your eye over and above, a pop time?
Yeah, I think when you're evaluating catchers, you have to look at A couple things, right off the bat. Are they flexible? Are they athletic? The days of the big, burly, I'm just going to stick back there and catch are gone, right? We
Right.
want the guys that are athletic, that are mobile. So I think you look at that from the get go. But I always say that the guys that can produce energy back there without being noticed are great. If you leave a game and I didn't notice you as a catcher, I'm coming to watch you. You're a prospect that's a catcher, but at the end of the game, I'm like, man, I didn't really notice him. You probably did your job because you kept the ball in front of you. You caught the ball, and you maybe threw a guy out or two. Right? There wasn't anything glaring that was bad. But when you evaluate catchers, I think you want to look at how they're receiving. Are they trying different things? Do they fit what you're trying to do as a coach in the receiving? Are they using different stances? And again, are they going to take a mound visit when it's 2-0 and after they just walk together, they've thrown 6 straight balls? Do they have the wherewithal to walk out and make a mound visit? Because the more you see, and you know this, guys aren't understanding the game that well, and I think as coaches, high school coaches, travel ball coaches, college coaches, we have to do a better job of empowering them to know the game and raise their baseball acumen, to know I have to walk out there. And if they already have that and I'm out there watching them, that's a big check mark for me, because when we get into a game and you come in, I have to know that you can lead a staff. There's no better compliment a catcher can get than a pitcher saying, man, I want that guy to catch me every single game.
I had a college coach call me last spring, catcher in the area, and he said, "Hey, Walt, do me a favor. Could you just go watch this guy catch? Just give me some feedback." And I went out and watched the whole game, and the kid obviously had a reputation as a quality catcher. Nobody stole on him, but in between innings, if I was trying to get a pop, everything was like a float, kind of just a float. There was no, okay, I think he has a good arm, but I didn't get to
Yeah.
see the good arm. Can you talk a little bit about that as an evaluator, that sometimes as a catcher, whether it's high school or travel or what have you, if you think that you have a good arm, you might want to show it off if you know nobody's running on you that day or the score is not going to allow them to do a lot of base running. Talk a little bit about you as a coach. Hey, man, in between innings, at least show me a couple times what you got, with the strength or the accuracy. Can you share that a little bit and let coaches, high school
Absolutely.
coaches and athletes know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a big proponent of showing it off every time, right? Because that's going to be, if you play a 7 inning game, you're going to throw it down 7 times, right? I got 7 pops on you. And then I'll build those into the game ones, because you're exactly right. If you're an elite catcher, they're probably not going to run on you. And so when you're back there, just being able to let it go in between innings, but not cheat it, right? Stay back, do the right footwork, really get something out of that rep is very important. And you bring up pop time. I think this is a great note for all coaches. If you look at Caden Bodine, who was the
Yep.
best catcher in the country, I thought it was unbelievable how good he was. He made our team that much better. But if you look at his numbers from his freshman year to his senior year, just going off basic pop time, it actually got a little bit worse over his time at Coastal. But something that never left him was the accuracy. Is he was right in the tag zone every single time. And so there was no tag time. The arm strength got slightly better. It wasn't anything crazy. The pop time was slightly worse, nothing crazy, but the accuracy was so important. And how many times do you go to a showcase, a game, and the catcher's trying to throw a 1-9 down there and it's going to center field? I want to know that you can deliver a 2-0 on the bag every single time, rather than a 1-8-8 that goes to center field that I'm trying to guess on the stopwatch. So I think that's very important. You put accuracy at a 1-9 to a 2-0, 2-0-5, that guy's going to be out majority of the time. And so being able to pull that data back to your original question in a game setting off of a live pitch is very important as an evaluator, because most guys can do that. Elite catchers can do that off a machine, or a good catcher can do it off a machine. The elite guys can do it off of a pitcher coming set and delivering a ball that might be all over the place, right? It doesn't hit you right in the mid every single time. And conversely to that, I'm gonna pick on pitchers a little bit here as well. Like if it's pitch number 5 or 7 and the catcher's taking it down, deliver him a pitch. I'm set like, oh, I'm loose, and lob it in there for him then try to throw it down. I think it's very important that the pitcher comes set and delivers a nice firm ball as well, so the catcher can get some work off of that.
I want to bring to everyone's attention. I don't think I heard Coach Shoemaker say 176 to 182 pop time.
I did.
So that's always, as a 27-year catcher, that was always a source of irritation when I used to watch these camps. But that's a story for another
Sure.
day. One of
Sure.
the things that I would love for you to share, because I've heard your perspective on this, and you kind of just mentioned it there, is meaningful repetitions, meaning every single practice repetition, in-game repetition has to have a purpose, because I see whether it's an infielder who takes that 4-step crow hop across the diamond, or the outfielder that might take an extra step or two, being able to prepare your body for when in games uh, really are an onus, meaning you're in a big game and you have to execute a play. Talk about repetitions. They need to have a little bit of an individual approach, meaning don't wait for a coach, don't wait for a lesson, don't wait for a team practice. Kind of begin, whether it's with your neighbor, your buddy, your parents, whatever, but take some meaningful reps, both as an infielder, as a catcher. Talk about the significance of meaningful repetitions and how they carry in through your development into college.
Absolutely. I think there's always every rep that you have to take, like you said, has to be meaningful. It has to be a game like rep. And I think what I mean by that is the days of just going out and taking a ground ball and just taking mass fungos, like those are still fine. But there also has to be days where you're on the clock and it has to be under a 4-3 to first base, accurately being able to throw a guy, or throw a guy out running down the baseline. So I think the biggest thing that I like to do, and our coaching staff at Coastal likes to do, is look at what plays our guys make the most, whether it be a top spun ground ball to our infielders, or a side spin line drive, or a top spin fly ball to the outfielders. And for a catcher, when I'm training those guys, it's all right, how many pitches are we receiving versus we're blocking versus we're throwing? And being able to take that training time and really, really break it down. Because, I do love quality reps over a quantity, but training can be messy sometimes. So I will tell any coach, any guy that's a dad, whatever it is, guys are going to mess up in training if you're having the right drills, because training should not be perfect. It shouldn't be a 100% catch every single time, 100% on ground balls. That's just not reality if you're doing it the right way and making it game meaningful reps. So those guys that post a video of a catching video or an infield video, and they're fielding everything and it's right on the dot, or they're catching everything, that's not real life, in my opinion. Training should be a little bit messy if you're training the right way for meaningful reps.
At the right game speed. I love when you mention that, because when a guy like Kevin McMillan at UVA, every time there was a BP or an infield, there was always, you had a stopwatch out 4.3. You try to get that into younger athletes and they think, well, wow, that's not really accurate. Oh, yes, it is, especially
Yeah.
at all levels of college. Same thing with pitchers, holding runners on, things like that. Uh, let's talk a little bit about the role that camps play. I have been to camps at Coastal. I have been around Kevin Schnall at camps. I know that he runs a tight camp. He runs a really good camp from an evaluation standpoint. But a lot of parents want to know, a lot of student athletes want to know, are you actively recruiting out of the camps, or is that just something that you doing for the younger kids and it's really not for a recruiting tool? Talk a little bit about the role that camps have at Coastal.
Well, it's huge. And if you look down our roster in Omaha last year, the 27-man roster, 12 of those guys had attended one of the Coastal Carolina camps previously. So that number right there is substantial to show you how important our camps are. But from our standpoint, I kind of break it down from a recruiting standpoint. Is if you're a junior and it's after, say it's right before August 1st, we try to get those camps in so we can get one more look at you and we can talk to you at our camps and get to know you. So then on August 1st, we can make those phone calls and try to set something up. If it's before your junior year, you're a sophomore and we're having a camp next weekend, or we're having a camp next summer before we can talk to you, that's getting your name on our board and being able to get an evaluation, a baseline on you, so then we can come out and watch you. And we talked about this earlier. We're recruiting the whole country, so you show up at our campus. It shows, one, you have interest in Coastal, and two, we get a baseline on you, and then three, now we can really evaluate and say, man, is this a guy we need to go see in the spring or summer, and get on that kind of follow list for us. But also, maybe Coastal isn't the spot for you, and there's times that happens as well, as guys come to our camp, and Coastal's not the spot for them, but they paid the money, they made the effort to come. You're at least going to hear us give you an evaluation on where we think the right step is for you, and we do a good job of bringing in different levels to work our camp: Division twos, NAIs, JUCOs, Division threes, because we feel like everybody at that camp can recruit somebody from our camp. And what I mean by that is every coach there is locked in doing evaluation and recruiting those, because there's somebody there for them and there's somebody there for us. And I think that's important for kids to note when they come to a Coastal camp, is it's not just for Coastal Carolina. We hope it is, right? We hope you're the right player for us, but in reality, that's not the truth, and that's not the real world. So that's why we try to get multiple schools there, for kids to be able to be seen by multiple people.
I can speak as a parent that's gone to these camps at Coastal in Conway, South Carolina. One thing about a Coastal camp is you get a really detailed evaluation. Obviously, now it was back then Gary Gilmore, the pitching coach who was with Gilly back then. Now you're going to get it from somebody like Coach Shewmaker or Coach Kevin. As far as with regard to not only catchers but infielders, pitchers, and so forth. Last question,
And
Tyler.
just to
Yep.
piggyback on, interrupt you, is we compare your numbers to what the Coastal roster is. So all of our guys run a
Right.
60-yard. Our guys get arm strength tested. We put our guys through a pro style evaluation just like we do a camper. And so we take the average catcher 60, the average arm strength, the average infielder 60, middle infielder, first baseman. And so whatever your primary position is, we send that to you. Hey, our average catcher 60 is a 6'9", or whatever it is, right? I don't know exactly off the top of my head. And you run a 7'5", well, now you have to look at that and be like, man, that's real numbers right there. And so we like to give you comparisons. So not to make you feel like, man, I'm not good enough to play there, but to give you something to work towards. I think that's important to have numbers concrete that you can really look at. And now TrackMan gives us numbers if you're at our field to see how hard you hit the ball and that kind of stuff. Then BP. So then you can compare those numbers to our guys as well, just to give you a baseline of where you're at as a player and what we're kind of looking for.
And I was going to go there, but some coaches don't like to say that. But, and one of the appealing things of that as a parent, because I remember at the time my son was a freshman and a sophomore, we went back twice, you kind of gauge progress. So you don't want to look at this and say, okay, my son is light years away, whether it's as a velocity as a pitcher or maybe exit velocity as an infielder, et cetera. You want to measure progression. So as your student athlete gets older, you can kind of see, okay, they're tracking, they're on the pathway to getting to those goals. And if not, what they need to do in order to get to those levels. And I really believe that's tremendously beneficial for student athletes as they're going through the process from a college camp perspective. Last question, Tyler. And I do want to remind parents, every coach, every camp, all located in the Baseball Blue Book app. So if you have a question about, schedule for Coastal Carolina, you can find that on the Blue Book. You want to know about an upcoming camp, find that on the Blue Book. But Tyler, how would you prefer a potential student athlete to reach out to you, or how does the staff prefer? Is it the email? Is it just go to the camp and get on your radar? How would you like to be approached by a prospective student athlete?
Right. I think something very important is email. And I think being able to be quick, it's a quick hit email. Hey, this is so-and-so, that my name is Tyler Shewmaker. I'm a 2028. I'm a 2027. My position is this. Here's some quick video of me. I think that's number one, get introduced. Now, if you decide to come to our camp and you're signed up, I think it's worth sending an email and saying, I have a lot of interest in Coastal. I'm coming to your camp. I'm a shortstop. Give me some background information in that email. And all of our emails are online. There is a general baseball at coastal.edu that we all check, but our personal emails are on there as well under our profiles. That's very important to get that out there. Something else I would tell kids, and everybody uses Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. I think something that kids should put on there is a contact or have your direct messages open, because there are times that I want to get in touch with a kid, and I can't find the personal email. Maybe it's a parent's email on their web page, or whatever it is. Like, I want your personal email to send you an email, or I can reach out to your Twitter, your X page directly. So open those direct messages up. I can hit message. It can come right to you from my personal Twitter, and we can open up that communication line right there. And then I can get your phone number, I can get your email, whatever it is that the next step is. But have those direct messages open, or have your personal email in your bio. I think that's a great feature for us to be able to use, because we're going to look your name up. Let's just be honest. We get it. I get a name, I'm going to go look it up online, whether that be his PG, PBR, Twitter profiles. Like, I'm going to find some information on you to do some digging, and then if I have that contact information right there, it's 2 clicks away.
I got to slip one more question in, because I get asked this question all the time. When a college coach follows on X, formerly known as Twitter, a student athlete, can you just kind of give these people some background? Why do you follow student athletes, and how do you monitor them during the course of the year? Are you in the background just following what they post? A lot of parents are like, oh, so-and-so followed me from Coastal Carolina. That means they're recruiting me. Can you just kind of give some insight as to the role that the social media can play for a student athlete?
Well, I think it's huge, because I do love when kids post some video on their social media, because I can just scroll through my feed and be able to see it. That's typically why I follow you, is to track that progress down the line, until we are able to see you in person. I think that's very important. And something, maybe this is wrong of me, and I might be going off script a little bit here for some coaches, but if you're a player, I like when you post your own video and keep that video on there. I don't need you retweeting every friend that you have that also posts video, because I'm trying to scroll through and find your video, and I'm looking at 3 other kids as I'm going through there. It's great. I get more names. I like that. But I'm going to find video of you. I want to see video, or pin it to the top of your Twitter or whatever it is, just so it's 2 clicks away, because social media is a huge piece of recruiting. It's not going away. People love it. We all look at it. But that's an ability for me to track your progress through your time.
Well, I want to say thank you. Coach Shewmaker is one of the most, I would say he's one of the elite younger coaches, and I say younger because I'm 63, younger coaches in college baseball. And I encourage, if you're a parent, you're a student athlete, you just heard some valuable insight, follow Coastal Carolina, get an opportunity. They're coming to Texas. They're all going to be playing all across the country this year. Take some time, go out and watch them play. Great coaching staff, tremendously talented team. Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today, and happy holidays, by the way, as well.
Thank you. Same to you. And feel free, if anybody has follow-up questions, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. I will get back to you. This is kind of our downtime moving towards the holidays, but I try to get back to every email I get. I've been around good head coaches, and something that they always told me was get back to everybody that reaches out to you, from Justin Hare to Tim Corbin to Kevin Schnall. They're always on their emails and texts, getting back to people, and I try to do the same. So if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out, and I will get back to you.
I want to let everyone know all of Coach Shewmaker's, his email, his social media handles, all of that will be in the description, the podcast, as well as any of the video on YouTube or any of the other social media platforms. I'll make sure that all of that information is available. And as you heard, he welcomes your correspondence. So take the time to send out that video. Thanks again, Tyler.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Athletes, electrolytes matter, but you got to choose the right electrolytes. If you look at the sugars, 34 grams, the dyes, all the things that's not good for you in this product, this is a hype product. If you look here at the electrolytes made by Corvive, it's got the right amount of magnesium, sodium, potassium, zinc, kosher salt. It's got vitamin C to help with the immune system. I'm telling you, if you want to stay on the field, you want to perform at your best, you want to recover well, this is the product that you need to choose to fuel your body as an athlete.